Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with me today. I am already overly energized, so we're gonna have so much fun. Get ready to be pumped and uplifted and learn all the things. Elle is amazing. Her and I have had way too many conversations already beforehand, and I am so stoked to bring so much to you guys. We're gonna see how much we can fit in this podcast. There may end up needing to be a part two for us to continue diving in because Elle is an absolute wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am giggles and energy and girl power and yah. So
yeah,
thank you so
this is
much.
gonna be awesome. This is how we're gonna release a Friday, girl.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so but I'm gonna let Elle introduce herself because I know she can do it 10 times better than me. So Elle, tell everybody then who you are and what it is that you do.
Thank you again. So I'm Elle Sojourner. By day, I'm a certified life cycle celebrant, but through my life, I'm just a lover of life. That is what I do. I do divination. I'm an author. I love public speaking. And as a celebrant, my focus is working people through the seasons of life, rite of passage. So I custom write ceremonies for people of different religions, backgrounds, faiths, and then I celebrate them. And it can be in the highlights, the weddings, the baby blessings. It can be in moments of transition like death or, end of life, anything like that. So I love on people. That's what I do.
Girl, that is the most beautiful way to put it. She loves on people. She loves on people, y'all. Let me tell you. I adore all the things. And you do so much of this. And I feel like, I've talked to a lot of people, but having the conversation with you and the things that even we've talked about offline and people are going to get a part of that today. You can tell that you really are in your purpose, who you are, what it is that you do, right? I don't feel like there's any question in what you bring to people, what it is that you offer, how people hear you and how they connect with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I am so excited to start this conversation today and see where it takes us, right? And so I kind of want to start us off with one thing, because I know that we can go in so many different directions.
Yes, sir.
Right. And I also know that, when you and I first talked, one of the things that we were kind of chatting about was just this invitation of understanding the miracle that we as individuals are. Right. And so I kind of want to start there and then kind of lead from there as to where that might take us, right, from beliefs to our thoughts to our actions, and kind of see where that goes. So when we talk about this invitation, and I know you had sent this to me before, so I'm not going to take credit for you guys. I want you to know that Elle sent this to me, but she said, we have already won by being born. And I was like, what? And I didn't think about this, right? It's 1 in 400 trillion. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's insane
Yeah.
that you got here. So talk a little bit about this and kind of lead us in this direction.
So the science of it to me always baffles me. And then when you take it to the metaphysical and the spiritual space, it just gets louder. But when you think about the generations that came before you, when you add into it the evolution of man, and then you add into it technology, science, medicine, every moment your grandparents meeting, their parents meeting, it baffles me that if you are alive and well and listening or watching, 1 in 400 trillion, you won the lottery, you're here, you're thriving, you've been given the gift of existence. And I think what is so important to me in my work when you're talking about love, love is so much about taking up space, and not
Mm,
in a pick me, see me way, but in a deep breath kind of way. In a, there's room for my joy. They say life is short, and it surely is when you think about the infinite number of possibilities. You're 1 in 400 trillion. Like, it actually makes me get a little attitude because I'm just like, don't let nobody talk to me. I'm 1 in 400 trillion. Please understand, I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to earn anything. I can just be here and take a breath. And that is a miracle. I'm a miracle. And I see so many people moving through life with no clarity around this. And they're striving and they're forcing and, they're comparing themselves. And it's like they're lost in their sense of why. And there's
mm,
nothing to be lost in. Love put you here. Love picked you. Love crafted you. And it's beyond religion. So, I love the idea in my Christian mysticism of being formed in the womb and the divine already having a plan for me. But even if that's not where one would subscribe in their ideology, I really love the idea that you cannot deny that you're a miracle. You can be an atheist, you're still a miracle.
very true. Very true. Oh, I love that. And I have to come back to this phrase that you said that, love is this ability to take up space. I want to talk about this for a second because I think that a lot of times when we hear the word love, we instantly think of to someone else,
Yeah.
right? To love your parents, to be loved as a child, to love your spouse or your partner, to love your children. And while that's all beautiful and everything as well, I think that there is an expansive definition behind the word love that we as a society don't know about, right? It's become
Mhm.
like in a term of endearment. It's become such like a throw around word, right? You think about how many people get into relationships and then like it's immediate. It's like, I love you, right? But
Yeah.
there's so much more behind the word love. So I'd love to know, I'd love to know, your this is the kind of day I'm having. I would love to know, like, what is, if you had to put the word love into like a definition,
Mhm.
how would you describe it?
Well, to your point, I think we have a concept of love that is highly transactional.
Mm,
And the way I define love, it is a frequency, and it is something that is a reflection. And that is why I think people chase it like a transaction because they're seeking love from that which is outside of them, not realizing that until that frequency is within you, you will not be able to project it nor receive it. It
mm,
always is an inside job. So love is not a transaction. It is a frequency. It's a feeling. It's an understanding. And it does show up in our behavior. There, when you take good care of yourself or you put boundaries around yourself, that is a frequency of self-devotion. And then when you get really good in that practice of how you operate with love in your daily choices and thoughts, then you go into the environment and you start kind of getting the bouncing around you of a matching frequency, or it happens in the inverse. And I definitely have seen this in relationships. I see it in weddings even. You might have a situation where it appears that one person loves the spouse more than the other,
mm,
and you can kind of just tell. And sometimes when I see those dynamics, it does kind of perk my antennas up a little bit because what I often will recognize is that the one who seems to love the other more, they often love them more than themselves. There's a sacrificial
mm,
energy to the love. And eventually, the one that they're loving more they will reflect a lack of self-worth back to the person because they projected it first. So it's not to place above, it's really to kind of bring within. When I think about how I love my son, I bring him into my world. I may center him in my love, but everything that I do requires me to take care of his mother first. I can't love him more than my capacity to care for his mother, especially when he was a minor child. If you're not doing things that ensure your existence, that ensure your mental health, that ensure your financial stability,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a limit to how much you could love your children. And I did not learn that through theory. I learned it from screwing it up. I learned it from trying to give to him what I didn't have and then realizing the deficit that I had done both he and I a disservice. So love is just a frequency, and then it's going to draw toward or it's going to reflect back to you where you are or where you are not. But I don't think love ever shows up with what you hope it will be.
Ooh, that's a powerful one. I want to
That
come
hurts
back
my
to this.
feelings. It hurts my feelings.
It's I think too that, when I was growing up, and maybe some people in the audience will resonate with this, the word love was like not necessarily a forbidden term, but like you better make sure that you mean it above all else before you're even supposed to use it.
Yep.
Right? It's almost like we put so much pressure on the word, which again, like you said, it becomes this outside component. And same thing, right? I remember raising my kids and thinking that I was doing what was best for them, when in reality it was from my own deficit. And it was like, because I love you, I'm doing this, and because I'm loving you, I'm making you tough. And that wasn't helping anyone. When I got into the space of personal development and healing and working through my own stuff, what I found really interesting and a little unnerving was the people around me that I would hear tell each other they loved them, but they weren't in relationships, right? It was like, it was friendships.
Yeah.
Like, man, I freaking love you, right? And every time I would hear that for a long time, like I was like, you're not supposed to say that. Like you don't mean that. You don't understand that. But in the context of it being a frequency, I think that it allows this capacity, right, to be able to love and care and have compassion for those around you, instead of it being such a sacred word that, like,
Yeah.
how dare you use it? And I think that comes back to almost making it transactional as well, because it's like you have to have 100% certainty before you use that word, right?
Yeah. It's
And
a test.
yeah.
We're using it transactionally as though it's a test. So until somebody feels that they love me in that 100% devoted way, like, well, then I'm going to hold back a little bit, or I'm going to
Hmm.
hold them in a certain standard with how I relate to them. So getting
Hmm.
somebody to say, I love you becomes a test, which to your point, it's very transactional, but
Hmm.
that's speaking from where we don't have the love within us that we desire. So we're believing that when they pass that test, it will make us feel something that isn't there. It'll fill a void. And it actually
Mm,
doesn't, because you could, win the game, but you're still, well, what do they say? Winning the battle, but losing the war.
yeah,
Because then that's when you start seeing these relational dynamics, and not just romantic. I've seen it friendships, professionally. There's still an
absolutely.
imbalance. If you need them
Hmm.
to keep proving to you that they love you,
Yeah.
it kind of gets depleting.
Yeah. And there's also another side to it that I was thinking of as you were talking about this, which is we protect the word so much that when someone says it, there is an expectation behind it. So
Yes.
now you have those individuals that don't necessarily mean it, or they don't mean it in the same capacity as what you do, right? Because we all have different perspectives. And then you end up getting hurt because you're like, but this person told me that they loved me. So because of that, I should be able to trust them. I should be able to be open with them. I should be able to be vulnerable with them. Like, there's all these things. And this comes not only in relationships, but this can be in like relationships with parents, right? If you had a
Yes.
parent that didn't necessarily love you and that's all you've been searching for, and one day they say, look, I do love you. Like, I love you. But you know that they don't mean it, but there's such a sacredness to that word. You're like, oh, then that should be it. That means now I can XYZ, right? There is this expectation behind it. And I don't know, it's been a really interesting transition to start using it more as a loving term and not hold it to such this high standard. And what's really interesting is since I have worked through a lot of my stuff and become more open and started talking to my kids and stuff, and I've talked about this on the podcast before that anytime, whether it is your spouse, your partner, your kids, your nieces, nephews, the way that you present yourself and the way that you handle yourself is how they are going to then see and pick up, right? Not what you say,
Or
not what you tell them. But what I've noticed with that is my boys have become more open with that, right? So it's been really interesting, especially over the last couple of years, that like I'll catch my oldest one on the phone with some of his friends, and they used to all ride motorcycles. And so they have this
love
group and
it.
they track each other and they make sure that they know where everyone's at because they want to make sure everyone's safe. But it's so funny because I'll hear him get off the phone. He's like, all right, man. He's like, you have a great day. He's like, love you, dude. And I'm like, what the hell just came out your mouth?
So beautiful. That is the
It
stuff.
is. It
It's the stuff.
is.
Why
But at the
not?
same time, it's like, oh, we can use that word in a larger capacity.
Yeah.
How freaking cool is that?
Because it's just a frequency. It doesn't mean that I owe you or you owe me. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to make mistakes. It doesn't even necessarily speak to my intentions in the dynamic. When I say I love someone, all I'm simply saying is in this moment, I'm honoring the frequency that we share. I'm so glad you're on this earth. I'm so glad that we're sharing space. Like, how
Yeah.
fortunate am I to get to have our paths cross and we can share a little bit of time and witness. Like it doesn't, and tomorrow you may decide you hate my guts, and that's okay because the love was still there.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's like a spell in a way. It's just you're calling in, you're honoring the space, the connection, kind of the
Mhm.
miracle of it again. There's over 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
And if
I think
you
it,
are connecting with somebody who's enriching your life, I love that. Let's go.
yeah. And I think that I think that it takes pressure off of personal relationships as well, because we have put so much strain on being with an individual and that person providing the love that we need and we crave. But in that process, and this is from personal experience and not just, speaking out of my ass, but we lose ourselves because we expect that that person that's
Yes, we
supposed to
do.
love us is supposed to, like you said earlier, is supposed to fulfill us, is supposed to fill that hole. What I have noticed now, being able to love the people that I'm around at a capacity that, what used to be so closed off, is I actually feel more whole in who I am, which
Yes.
means I have more space in my relationship with my husband and in my relationship with my kids. And I also know that not all of the burden and the weight of having bad days and stuff is supposed to be focused toward them for them to fix. I have a plethora of people that I know that I care about and care about me that I can go to and I can have conversations with. And I think that it takes this pressure off. We talk about how we're community creatures, right? We're not meant to be alone. Yes, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I love to be on my rock in the water, away from everybody, and don't come talk to me.
Preach.
I'm, I'm not saying that at all. But there is a part of us that craves being around individuals,
Mhm.
but around people that give a living shit about us, right? And so we try to put that on one person. And then we
Yes.
wonder why we have so much push and pullback and stuff like that. But we're not taught that, right? Like we're taught that your relationship is so sacred and they're the person that loves you and you should go to and all these things. But sometimes you might both not have the capacity to do that. So, like, who else can you go to?
Yeah.
Right? Who else is in that space that loves you enough that you can open up to for, 10 minutes just to let off some steam? And now you can come back to your relationship feeling better. And I also think that it helps you maintain your individualism as well, which is
Hmm.
something that I lost for years because I
Yeah.
put so much weight on my relationship.
I mean, I totally get that. And I really love how, okay, so love the movie Jerry Maguire, but damn it, you don't complete me. I have eternally hated that phrase because it is adding that pressure that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like one whole person trying to complete you. What?
Hmm.
Where are you taking responsibility, for completing yourself? Or, again, like you said, what happens when neither of you have the capacity in the moment to
Yeah.
tend to a particular need or a space that you're in? That doesn't mean that they don't complete you. It just means in this moment, you've got to, go co-regulate elsewhere. But
Yeah.
people will blow up, again, marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend, relationships with children, jobs. I've seen it happen at jobs. People will blow something up because in a moment, somebody did not help them regulate themselves, and they want to read into that about the whole meaning of the dynamic and the intentions and the purpose. And I'm just like, just calm down. It was one bad moment. Like, smoke a
Yeah.
cigarette, take a drink, meditate, do what you do. But people go really far quickly. Well, it's because our
Yeah.
emotions are strong, our feelings are strong, hearts are so tender. I
Hmm.
actually, when I see people having big emotions, I actually tend to lean into that because I love people who have a capacity for deep feeling. Because if you can get them regulated, the other side of that is so beautiful. And so, even when you're dealing with love, which to me is one of the biggest emotions, because the opposite of it, some people say the opposite of love is hate. Some people say the opposite of love is indifference.
Interesting.
Either one of those, if somebody hates you or is indifferent with you, you're basically dead to them. Like, so, I mean, if somebody can love you, you have to accept that if things change, that pendulum could swing the other way.
Mm,
And that's why it's such a risk. That's why people are so tender about it. That's also why I define it as a frequency. Because what I also know, having, gone through relationships and broken up and, been in deep for years and all the things, if you can walk away and feel like you left it all on the mat, that remains the frequency of love, even if you're hurt. Like I've had
mm,
situations where I don't regret the experience at all. And even though it went a way that maybe I would not have preferred or did not anticipate, that frequency remained. What was good was good. What I learned, I learned. How I grew, I grew. And so that's why I just think it's important to give it an opportunity to be an energy and not an action, an obligation, an expectation, a
yeah.
requirement, because nobody can live up to that expectation. If you love somebody from that space, you're kind of setting them up to disappoint you.
Oh, I hope you guys are taking notes. I hope you guys are taking notes. This is going to be like you're going to have to reflect on this stuff over the weekend. This oh my gosh. Okay. I love everything that you were saying, Elle, and I'm 100% on board with it, especially again, seeing the other side and how much pressure and stuff that I put on myself for other things and how long it took me to get to who I am, right? And
Oh,
who
yes.
I am deciding that I want to be. Speaking of that, for anyone that feels like, okay, cool. So love is this frequency. I can take some of the things off. Well, what the hell does that mean for me? So I want to talk
Mhm.
about a little bit about, the alignment of understanding who you are, right? And your beliefs and your thoughts and your actions, right? We talked about not taking accountability if you're waiting for somebody else to complete you, right? And I
Yeah.
know that, you've talked a little bit about before about understanding what someone would call true north,
Hmm.
right? First off, I'd like for you to kind of explain what the hell does true north mean for anyone that doesn't understand. But then
Sure.
I'd like to kind of dive into this a little bit about like how do we start taking actionable alignment within ourselves so that we create
Mhm.
this space which then pushes people away that we don't need and brings people into our life that can create this space that you and I are speaking from.
So, starting with the concept of true north, I love this term. And I remember the first time I heard it, it really resonated with my spirit. And it is for me this idea that every last one of us has some sense of what would bring us joy. And it doesn't just have to be the tangible thing. There's just stuff that's true to us and stuff that's not. Heavy metal's your jam, R&B is not. Country music, I like to dance. I would never dance. You just know. And many of us are conditioned socially based upon our gender, our race, our ethnicity, our nationality, citizenship, socioeconomic status, education, career. Many of us will abandon our true north, what makes our spirit, our soul, our being, our life feel meaningful and on purpose, and that brings us joy. We'll abandon that because we'll hyper identify with roles and social conditioning. And what tends to happen is I've noticed when you start having language about, I have to, I can't, I shouldn't, well, now I'm obligated because that's usually
Mm,
somebody abandoning their true north. They're literally trying to convince themselves that they cannot have what they know they would prefer, that would bring them joy, that would be in service to their spirit. And another indicator to me of true north, things that energize you versus things that deplete your energy. Like literally, your mind, body, and soul will not allow you to comfortably align with things that are really are just not your space. And it may just be it's not what you're here for right now. It's not your season in life. Maybe there's a lesson that you really need or an experience you need before next thing happens. But True North is a guide. And when I talk about things feeling good and bringing joy, this is not the space of I don't wanna because it's hard. Sometimes True North is, pardon my French, doing shit that you need to do so you can do shit that you want to do. And it can really be
yes.
that mucky. Like, that there's an area in your life where you need to grow. Or this is one I've struggled with. There's a space in your life where you need to expand, but you're going to sit on over there and stay in a job or a relationship, a house, whatever, because it's working for you okay. And it doesn't really seem to be broken, but daggone well, you're supposed to be someplace else. And that's why you'll see people who appear to have everything and seem rather unhappy, or they seem rather unfulfilled. And it's just because there's a calling to a different type of experience. And they're just going to kind of hang out where it's easy and it's worked. So True North is just wherever you need to go in this lifetime to have the experiences that would enrich you the most. And True North usually takes courage. And nobody wants to talk about that because we often think that things that are good for us should feel good all the time. And a lot of
Yep.
times, True North, it looks crazy. It's often that thing where people are like, everybody around you might be like, what are they doing? What the hell? Like, did they bump their head? Like, what? Usually there's a true north in there somewhere where somebody will just, they feel it. They feel that it's time for them to do X and they have to do it because they can't stay that uncomfortable and not being aligned any longer. And people meditate about it. I think some people just get a gut feeling. I think sometimes people
Hmm.
just blow stuff up because they can't take it anymore and they don't even know why they did it. Some people will just be in a space of, and I think this is common. I don't know if this is for me, but there's really nothing wrong with it. But I don't really like it's not broken, but I don't know if I should stay. Even if
Yeah.
you're asking the question, there's probably expansion calling. So to me, that's true north.
I love this. And I immediately thought of two things in my life that I wanted to give as examples for anyone
Yes.
that's like, I don't know, but maybe that's what she's talking about, but like maybe not. So way back when I got out of my abusive relationship after 10 years, I
Mhm.
was in the medical field. I'd already been in the medical for several years already. And I stayed in it because I wanted to help people. That's what I enjoyed doing, right? And then as I started learning like how to say no, that you could say no, right? Just at your job. Yeah, like you didn't have to be the go-to person. You didn't have to do all the things. When I started standing up for myself, I started getting kind of this feeling of like, I don't want to be in this space. Like I don't feel like I'm appreciated. I don't like the way that the doctor talks to me and treats the staff and so on and so forth. And I was like, but I really enjoy helping people. Like I'm confused, right? And so I started just kind of exploring on things I thought I might want to do, which at that time was, hey, maybe I could just build real estate and I could help people,
Mhm.
right? And I'll use my patience as a way to build that business, right? So I came up with this plan and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I kind of put it on the back burner, but I kind of thought about it and did some research. And lo and behold, shortly after that, 10 and a half years after being in the medical field, I had a moral disagreement with my doctor, something that they wanted to charge the patient that we said we weren't. And I refused to do what was told of me because I wanted to stand behind my morals, which was absolutely not. We said we were doing this. I got fired. Now,
Mhm.
in that moment, I could have chose to go back into the medical field, right? I could have chose to, okay, I've already been doing this for 10 years and I know I want to help people. I'm just going to find another job with another doctor in another facility that maybe does appreciate me and we'll go from there. But I also had this little thing kind of percolating in the back of my brain. And that was the first time that I was like, you know what? F this. I'm going to do
Mhm.
something completely different. I'm going to prove everybody wrong and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And I did. And then I quickly found myself coaching with anyway.
That's how that
But,
goes, though. You take
right?
the off ramp and you get spit out on a road, and there you go.
You're like, all right. But what's interesting is that was probably the first time in my life that I started really paying attention to what do I actually really enjoy in the things that I've been doing and what do I not? And how can I find something that leans more toward more of the things I enjoy and less of the things I don't. And as I started thinking that
Mhm.
way, more things started popping up, right? Which was really
Yeah.
crazy. I started coaching with other realtors. I was offered a full position to build something out, which is something I enjoyed doing in that space. And then I quickly kind of built from there. And then I started my own practice and I was like, cool, let's try this out. And then somebody was like, man, you should do podcasts. And I was like, I would love to do podcasting. And here we are 3 years later, but it's things like that that it's like until you're willing to look past the blurred lines, right? And really like refocus to be like, I think I can see a little further. You can find yourself in this in-between space where you're like, I know, but I think that, but I kind of like
Yeah.
this, but I don't really know if that's really what this means, right? Elle, you and I talked about this several months ago when I decided to do a TEDx, which was not on my bingo card for 2026,
Which is
right?
phenomenal. Okay.
I had shut a coaching practice down. I decided I was going to do more speaking. And in that realm, I took a remote job to fill the space of financial capacity. And I got into this space about a year into the job. I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. I know this is not where I'm meant to
Mhm.
be. I want to be here. Every time I do this, I am so energized after. And what happens? I get fired out of nowhere for no reason. And while that was stressful, it was one of the best things that could have ever happened because in
Yeah.
that space, I got to refocus on my talk. I rewrote my entire talk. Thank you to my amazing friend Sabrina. And I got to put myself out there in front of people with a message that I know is going to resonate with the world, right? And it's really interesting how those things happen. And I think this kind of comes back to this beautiful saying, which I never understood for a really long time, which is the world is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yes. And that's
And
a
when we,
tough one to accept because
oh, it
when you
is.
tell yourself it should be this way and that should or shouldn't happen, you can feel like, life is kicking your butt or it's not fair, it's being unkind. And sometimes the most gracious gestures are the ones that get you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I have an example of this. I grew up in the Midwest. I had known since I was little that I was not staying. I couldn't tell you why I wasn't staying. And even my mother that raised me, I remember probably being sub 10 years old and being like, she's leaving. It was just in my being that I would be someplace else in the world, when the time came. I'd always wanted to go to New York. I ain't never been to New York. Had no idea why I wanted to go to New York City. But I went. And when I got there, I remember taking a deep breath and exhaling. I was home. I don't know why I was home. Years later, probably 10, 15 years later, I would find out that my maternal birth family was out there.
No.
I had a maternal grandfather, aunts, uncles, and then even like in my lineage, they were rooted in that area, in that kind of mid-Atlantic, New York, DC. I was literally in my spirit called home. And I just followed it and it just kept making sense. But I literally did not have the reason for it for decades. I was in my 30s. That's true north. It didn't make a bit of sense. I don't know why I had to get out of the cornfields, and go risk my life on the city streets. I actually love New York. I never had that crazy experience that people think about, but there was no rhyme or reason to it, but it was within me. And so
Hmm.
then I had the benefit of finding out much later why that made sense to me. I was walking on the soil of my biological people. And so it is. True North can just be that ridiculous. You follow it. And sometimes I think even with True North, you don't always know. I don't think we ever find out sometimes what that thing is in us that draws us to something. I think when you
Hmm.
find out that's a gift, but there's a righteousness about it in your being. There can be a peace in your being. And so even without understanding, just the experience of it feeling okay, of it being okay. Sometimes it's just the experience of alignment, like with your job. It spits you onto a ramp that eventually leads you into a space that works for you. And so then you're like, I'll take it. But sometimes we have to hold on long enough and have the courage to like let it come to us. And I think
Yeah,
again, that still is a frequency. It goes right back to the love frequency. A lot of times I think a lot of us will clench up because people are saying, what are you doing? Or it's like, that doesn't really make
absolutely.
sense, or I have too much to lose. So it's almost like we don't have the courage to follow the love because the mind is overriding what our gut is telling us. People will
Hmm.
get, like, I love stories when people talk about all the signs they got and how long it took them to follow the signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every single person, it doesn't matter your ideology, every single person knows when they're aligned with true north. They may call it something else, life path, intuition, I don't know, your 10-year plan, whatever you want to call it, your dream person, your dream, whatever. But I think we also know when we're not aligned with it, but because we don't have language for it, a lot of times our mind will trip us up. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know what's off. I don't know
Hmm.
exactly how to pivot, and so true north, let's just call it that.
Yeah. And I love this of, when the mind can't make sense of it, right? Because
Yeah.
we are taught to be such logical beings by the time we're an adult.
Yeah. I'm a highly cerebral person by nature. My mind has gotten me into so much trouble. Like thinking is literally dangerous for me.
Do you,
I'm
girl,
so
felt that. So felt that. So,
like, yeah, like you went there with me, those moments when I'm like, why in the heck was I trying to think myself out of
yeah.
something that was so palpably otherwise? I mean, I've always been very cerebral, and it's also the place where I personally go when I'm afraid. I
Yeah,
will try to reason and logic and make it make sense, as people
absolutely.
say. And a lot of times I'm trying to do that because the thing that I know for sure, it doesn't feel as good or it's not as easy.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be a little bit of a coward. That was something I had to give myself grace to be sometimes because I tend to relate to myself as strong. But sometimes it's like, ooh, I just don't know if I wanna. And just giving myself grace to acknowledge that will sometimes
Hmm.
then help me find the courage to do the thing that I feel I should be doing, that my being is drawing me towards. But sometimes even telling ourselves how we have to experience true north or how we should be responding to these pivots and changes or expansion or what may be perceived as loss, that
Hmm.
doesn't have love in it. It's not the frequency of love to be judging how you're lifing. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I just need to put the love back on myself. Okay, yeah, you acting a little crazy. You're in your feelings. You snacking when you shouldn't be. You're scrolling when you need to put that phone down and get off reels. Okay, you're uncomfortable. Let's just call
Yeah.
it. And then what? It's always love. It's always goes back to love.
Yeah. And I love this too because, it immediately made me think of imagination,
Mhm.
right? And, when we're kids and we're younger, we get to explore and just, I'm going to be an astronaut and like all the things. And
And a race car
nobody,
driver.
right? And nobody, or for the most part, because I get some people didn't have great childhoods. Usually people are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great, honey. And they just leave it alone. But it's like, as soon as we turned 18, and I had this conversation with my oldest one who's 21. And he was like, I've got to make good decisions now and blah blah. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh,
Yes, and I was like, and I apologize for this because I was like, I am the one that taught you this. I said, please do me a favor, and I don't care if it doesn't make sense. If you feel in your gut that this is something you should do, I said, I don't need it to make sense. Freaking go for it. Right. And I think that we teach ourselves, or we've been taught, and then we teach it to our kids that like once we hit a certain age, imagination is bullcrap. And what I love about this is, and I didn't know this. So for anyone that is not familiar with some of the amazing people we've had in this world, like Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla, I always blah, blah,
yeah.
like I want you to go back and read some of the quotes
Yes.
that these people have put out there. These are the things that they were trying to teach society that has been pulled out. And one of the things that Albert Einstein said, and I actually Googled it because I wanted to make sure I got it right, is imagination is more important than knowledge. For
Yes.
knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress and giving birth to evolution. This man created all kinds of things, and he's
Mic
the one
drop.
telling you, right, that
Mhm.
imagination is what we need. And we seem to think that another degree, another certification, that all this, and don't get me wrong, there are places for things for us to learn in that, but we get so stuck in the logic of things
Mhm.
that we bypass all of it. If you think of all the amazing things that have been created in this world, it was not made because of logic. I mean, come on now, the Wright brothers wanting to fly, what kind of logic sense did that make? Like,
I'm gonna hang out with these birds knowing damn well I don't have any wings. Okay.
we can take this big, giant, heavy thing, we're going to hoist it up in the air, and we're going to put people on it.
And hope
Like,
it'll
it,
stay there.
right? And I find it so interesting when I start doing some deep dives on some of the amazing people that we had in our arena decades ago and the concepts that they had, which are very different than what we are being taught today.
Yes. I believe it was Nikola Tesla. You know what's funny? You said, but I can't remember. I think it was Nikola Tesla, but don't quote me on this. But one of the great thinkers had this theory of trying to be in the liminal space where ideas would come from. And so
Mm,
he would allow himself to go to sleep and kind of head into a napping state, but would hold something
okay.
heavy in his hand. And the reason he was holding something heavy in his hand is because he didn't want to go into like deep REM. He wanted to be in
Okay.
liminal where we astral project and we dream. And so when he got too deep into sleep, the heavy item would fall out of his hand. And as it kind of woke him up, that is the space where ideas would come to him. So he was basically willing himself into almost like a dream theta state before we had
Ooh.
frequencies and healing. And I remember being like, think about that. That was well over 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was talking about the things we're talking about now. And even then, he understood that there was genius in the space in which the mind was unbound and the heart and the spirit were talking to the mind. Liminal space is just where all of that communicates with itself. It's not consciousness, it's not sleep. Until he'd found a way to put himself in that space. I was like, yeah, I want some of that.
Right, girl, I'm about to go Google this. Like, as soon as we let's go.
I know. I was like, gosh, I can't. I wish I could remember exactly who it was. I believe it was Nikola Tesla who was
I would
doing.
not be surprised because
Yeah,
that man was genius. Like,
that's what it is. Genius. It's like genius was not in the books and the papers and the credentials and the accolades. Genius is in that space in which the mind can be unbound. And then we have the capacity to align action to bring it
mm,
forward. It's one of the reasons too why even in my work I deal with balancing divine masculine and divine feminine. I have a mastermind. It's called Forge and Flow. You can't do one without the other. So in a feminine energy, and not talking about women, but actually the divine energy of femininity, we're just dreaming. We're just dreaming and we're feeling all the time, but it's not going to manifest into 3D. And then in the masculine energy, we're just constantly doing. But then you find
Mm-hmm.
yourself just doing stuff because you do it because you can. And it may not make sense, it may not be aligned, and it may not be creating what feels true for you. So you have to have both. Liminal space is where both can kind of start happening. It comes to you, and then it's in your brain close enough that you can make a plan and give birth to it. Can't be dreaming all the time, but you can't be doing all the time either. All these
Yeah.
geniuses knew that. They knew they had to be in a like receptive state and then a state of output. It blows my mind when you think about how basic the concept is, but it's a theory that repeats itself wherever you find brilliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been baffled by some of the individuals that we know to have created so many things and how much different they really thought than how we are taught to this day. So if anybody is interested on like understanding like where do ideas and where do some of these people like just do me a favor, do a deep dive. Just do some Googling and look up some of the things on Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla and some of the other amazing individuals
Any
because
great inventors,
yeah, you will be blown away and be like, wait, why did they think that way? Um,
successful
but I,
creatives do the same thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're usually divining these ideas from somewhere. I know people who really they can get messages from other realms or ancestors or angels or whatever. But I also know other people who just feel like they're getting messages or guidance from the best version of themselves.
Mm,
It's not coming from the external pressure of society. They're not coming up with these ideas because somebody told them to. It really has to almost be channeled from something outside of self.
yeah.
And then the winners are the ones who can stick with it until they bring it to life.
Oh, okay, Elle, we're gonna have to do a part two. I we're gonna have to come back to this because I really want to dive into
Yeah.
a lot of the actionable steps? What are the micro things that we can do? What are
Mhm.
the ways that we can really start supporting our own lives and being able to respond to all of these different things, whether it's challenges, surprises, all the things. So you guys be on the lookout. We are definitely going to do a part two where we can really kind of dive into what we've talked about today and give you guys some really actionable steps.
The
We've just
real,
run out of
real.
time today. Yeah. So be on the lookout. I know that you have a freebie, though, that everybody is getting. So please share with everybody what this is. I'm so excited.
It's what I call a soul guide. And this particular one, it talks about ritual of the energies of the days of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to talk about the energies that align with each of those days and how you can really call that in to put some wind at your back, to put a little magic at your back as you're moving through your days. For example, there are some days that are better for dealing with finances. There are days that align with certain planets, certain colors, certain numbers. There's some days that are better for taking a hot bath, and other days you need to hit the gym. And so, one of the reasons I love this particular thing is ritual and ceremony is what I do. But as I was joking with you earlier, ritual and ceremony isn't always like eye of newt and like, the tongue of a camel. People think the more exotic and out there they get, the bigger the magic. It's everyday magic. I had shared with you earlier, Kat, when you're dealing with courage issues, Thursday is the day of Thor. That is a day to acknowledge where you may be feeling like you're not in your strength, but actually calling down blue candles and Thursdays. If you just need to get some courage, if you just need to get your confidence up, if you're just trying to like get yourself to do the thing or say the thing, do some work on a Thursday, light a candle and just be like, oh, I'm sick of being a clown. I'm ready to call it in. I'm ready to get mine. It doesn't have to be crazy. So enjoy this, enjoy the energies, create magic for yourself, put some wind at your back.
I love this. And of course, we'll have that link in the show notes. We'll make it super easy for you guys to find that and all the other amazing things that Elle has as well. So, where can everybody find you? How can they connect with you?
So the easiest way to find me is at bio.site/Elle Sojourner. And that's where you can go if you're interested in celebrant work, weddings, hopefully not funerals, but I'll support you if you have to be in that space. You'll also find divination work that I do, soul circles that I do. We have a soul vow ceremony coming up in May, free offerings, community events. It's like all the stuff, the books, the everything. And then you can just go play on bio.site/Elle Sojourner and find your magic.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. We're gonna have so much fun next time. Okay, so we'll make sure we have all that information in the show notes. We'll give you guys her social handles as well, so you can follow along with Elle, and her amazingness. Elle, thank you so much,
Thank
for your
you.
time and energy today.
I
Is there,
love you.
oh, I
I
love
do.
you.
I
Oh,
truly
thank
do.
you, Elle.
You are light.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with before we finish up?
I think in this moment, in this time where the world is right now, just do follow the love. Love yourself, love others. It doesn't have to be grand gestures. Just do the next right thing, the next kind thing. And there's a cumulative effect, and everybody needs it right now. Everybody needs
Mm,
it. Just follow the love.
I love that. Oh. This is like an amazing. If you guys are listening toward the weekend, like I really want you to sit with all this information, and really feel into this. We do get in spaces where we feel so called to be a part of everyone else, and we lose ourselves in that. And I've done that for years. We talk about people where they talk about taking the mask off and being them, but also being worried at the same time that they're not going to be accepted. Let me tell you, when you can lean into who you are, the people that are there for you are going to be the ones that show up, like this amazing lady in front of me right now.
Yeah.
So, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be who you are, because let me tell you, the sky is the limit when you stop putting the expectations on yourself that others perceive for you to have. So until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable